Elasticity is a very important concept in economics that needs to be explained in full. So when discussing elasticity, what comes to your mind? How do you understand elasticity? So elasticity is derived from the factors that affect demand. So a recap, what are some of the factors that affect demand from the previous classes we had? What are some of the factors that affect demand? So we talked about a number of factors that affect demand, starting from price, going through price of related goods, the income, advertising, population, the weather. And interesting enough, each of these ones have, to some extent, an elasticity that is attached to them. So we have what we call price elasticity of demand, emanating from the concept that elasticity can be affected by price itself. So now in economics, by definition, elasticity is defined as follows. So elasticity is simply the responsiveness. It is the sensitivity of one economic variable to changes of another related variable. So economics will help us understand elasticity in this angle, in that we will understand how the factors such as price, income, and other economic variables will impact the quantity demanded. So if there are any people who should understand elasticity so much, it is the women, because they calculate so much how much they buy on a daily basis and the sensitivity they have. So if they're aware of millimere reducing by even a quarter, they'll switch demand the very fact that it is an elastic good, more so an essential good. So elasticity is very important for businesses, for economists, and policymakers, because it will help us really understand how these changes in the variables will affect the economy. So just on elasticity itself, you could write an essay that would carry 15 to 25 marks. So now to understand elasticity as economists, we're going to examine relationships in terms of the factors that affect elasticity. For instance, price elasticity of demand. Now, price elasticity of demand simply looks at how sensitive the changes in prices of that particular good will affect your demand. So price elasticity of demand looks at sensitivity of the quantity demanded for a good or a service to the changes in its price is calculated by the following formula. So elasticity of demand is therefore equal to percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in price. So elasticity of demand, if I were to take the whole day, I could explain a lot about the price elasticity of demand. Now, to just break this down, you must understand that price elasticity of demand is in ranges. It can be categorized as follows. If the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, it means it is elastic. The price elasticity of demand is equal to 1, it means it is unit elastic or unitary. If price elasticity of demand is less than 1, it is inelastic. You must, however, know that elasticity of demand is always negative. So we're looking at these ranges here, between 0 and 1, -2. So all figures that are in here. So the red patch here denotes what? Inelastic. The green part here denotes what? Elastic. And the blue patch here, just at 1 exactly, denotes what? Unit. So unit elastic is exactly when it is -1. When you're dealing with inelastic, we're dealing with the red patch here. When you're dealing with elastic, we're dealing with what? The green patch here. So what does it mean when demand is elastic? It means very sensitive. So in your personal lives, there are certain things that are elastic and things that are inelastic because you do not frequently buy them. For instance, a razor blade. A razor blade could be denoted to be a non-essential good and hence could be inelastic. So the things that are not very sensitive are inelastic. So by inelastic, it means, for instance, if the price of a razor blade were to be increased by 10%, to what extent does it reduce your quantity demanded? So to be inelastic simply means that any price increase, to start with, any price increase under the law of demand must result into a what? A price decrease. However, the proportions should be as follows. If the price increase, for instance, is 10% and will cause a price decrease of 10%, this is a 50-50, the same. This is what we call unit elastic. It is a 50-50. However, if we increase price by 10% and our loss is bigger, we lose demand by 20%. This means the demand is what? Elastic, it is sensitive. Conversely, if we increase price by a higher percentage, like 10%, and we lose demand, quantity demanded by 5%, this means it is inelastic. We are gaining more than we are losing. So the formula for elasticity is simply percentage change in what? Quantity demanded over percentage change in what? Price. Now, I don't know how people get confused. Sometimes we're given the elasticity of demand as -3 and percentage change in price is an increase by what? Maybe 2%. What is the effect on the quantity demanded? You just substitute in here. Where there's quantity demanded, what do we put? We put -3. Where there's percentage change in quantity demanded, we don't know. Then where there's a percentage increase, the price increase is a 2% there. So what you do is simply cross multiply. So this means that when you cross multiply here, percentage change in quantity demanded is -3 times 2. So here we're going to get -6. So what does this mean? It means a 2% price increase will result in a 6% quantity demanded. So in this case, we are losing more by increasing the price by 2%. So this means that demand is elastic. Even this elastic figure here can tell you. So if we're given A, B, C, and D, we have -1.7, -0.7, -1.0, and +1.7. Which one is elastic, inelastic, and unitary? So this, since it's more than 1, it is what? Elastic. This, since it's less than 1, it is what? Inelastic. This is exactly 1, it is what? Unit elastic or unitary. But this one is not elasticity of demand because it's a positive, it's elasticity of supply in that context. So far, we're together? So sometimes elasticity
Yes, we are.
would be given in terms of the functions. For instance, we are given the price is equal to A minus BQ. This is what we call the inverse demand. That is the inverse demand. So in this inverse demand, you must understand that whenever the subject formula is what? Is Q, is P, sorry. It means that is an inverse demand. So in this case, the formula for the inverse demand will be given by elasticity of demand is equal to B times 1 over, it will be given by 1 over B times the actual price times divided by quantity. This is what is called the inverse demand. Inverse demand is only when P is subject to formula. The direct demand is when Q is subject to formula. So if you're given this formula, your elasticity of demand simply becomes the direct P times price over quantity as it is. Now, how do we apply these? If you're given, for instance, 10 minus what? 2Q. And at this point, we're told that our Q maybe is 3 units. What is the elasticity of demand? To start with, we need to find our P, where the Q we substitute. So here we're going to put a 3, right? Where there's Q, we're going to put a 3. So this is 10 minus 6. Here we're going to get a 4. That is our P. Now, from this equation, since it's the mirror of this function, the B is a slope. What is our B here? Our B is what? -2. But we have a complete set of what we need, yes. So what formula do we use? Formula 1, the inverse demand. So what does the formula say? 1 over B. Our B is -2. And what is our price? Our price is 4. The quantity was given as 3. So this is 4 over -6. So when you calculate this, we get -0. What? -0.67, which is inelastic. So these computations look very simple, but they have a lot to think about. In the event that you're given a direct demand, for instance, 10 minus 3P, and we're told that your P, for instance, is 3 quarter. So when you substitute your 3 there, meaning your Q should be 10 minus 9, which is 1 quarter. I hope you're getting the substitution where it's coming from. When this figure comes there, 3 times 3, which is 9. 9 from 10 is 1 unit. Now, since the Q is in the form of the direct demand, we're going to use this direct elasticity formula. So from here, our B is what? -3 times. Our P is what? +3. And our Q is 1. We multiply that one, 3 times 3 over 1, we're going to get -9. So this is elastic. You can see that the negative is coming from this slope. Elasticity of demand is always negative. So here demand is elastic. So you must be able to differentiate and know what happens when you're dealing with what? So elasticity of demand can also be calculated using the formula Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 times 100 divided by P2 minus P1 over P1 times 100. So in a situation, you'll be told that the price of maize has increased from 10 kwacha to 15 kwacha. causing the demand to decline from 20 units to 10 units. Calculate the elasticity of demand. So this one is for point elasticity of demand. So Q2 is 10 minus 20 over the original price, which is what? 20 times 100 divided by P2, which is 15 minus original price 10 divided by 10 times 100. So on top here, we're going to have what? 10 over 20 times 100, which is 50%. And here we're going to have what? 5 over 10 times what? 100. So here we're going to have 50% divided by 50%. So 10 minus 20 is negative. 15 minus 10 is positive. So when divided negative 50 divided by positive 50%, the elasticity of demand is equal to what? Negative 1. So negative 1 means that elasticity there is unitary. Are we following?
Yes.
Right. So now we go to functions that have to do with calculus. If a given Q is equal to 10 minus 2P. So elasticity of demand, you need to differentiate. Elasticity of demand is equal to what? The Q over the P times price over quantity. So when you're differentiating this, the Q over the P from our calculus, 10 is a constant, negative 2P is negative 2. Okay? And we're given maybe our P is 4 quarter. When you put a 4 quarter there, what we're going to have is what? 10 minus 2. And this is 10 minus what? 8. Which is equal to 2. So our Q is 2. So in this case, we're going to substitute. What is our dP over dQ? Negative 2. And the price was given as 4 quarter. And the quantity was calculated as 2 units. So when you compute that, we're going to get our elasticity of demand as negative 4, which means demand is elastic. Now, elastic demand is also epitomized by perfectly competitive market. What is a perfectly competitive market? It's a market where goods are free mobility. Demand is the same as the price, which is the average revenue. In this market structure, our average total cost is halved by the marginal cost. So where they meet the average revenue is equal to the average revenue is equal to the marginal revenue. So where marginal revenue meets here. So in the short run, we make what we call economic profits. So what are the characteristics of a perfectly competitive market? There are several. Okay, there are several. Let me give you a few of them so that you could have points for the exam, because these ones are usually asked. Number one, perfectly competitive market is a market where there are numerous participants and many buyers and sellers, each with a relatively small market share. The goods are homogeneous, meaning they're offered at a competitive market. They're standardized. There's perfect information, meaning the participants in this market structure have access to complete and accurate information about the prices, what is happening in the prevailing conditions. In these market structures, there are low barriers to entry, meaning the firms can easily enter the market due to minimal barriers. They are price takers, meaning they have no control over the price. They take the price that is available in the market. There's price transparency in the sense that prices here are transparent and known to all market participants. You know that this time cabbage is usually expensive because of what the weather conditions. Are we together? What are
Yes, yes.
the features that this market structure may have? All right, the other features that this market structure may have are as follows. That profit maximization happens when the marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, like I showed you in the graph. Marginal cost is equal to the price, because the price is the same as what? The average revenue. And because the average revenue is the same as the marginal revenue. So in short, marginal revenue must be equal to the average marginal cost. So there's free entry and exit in this market because firms can enter or exit without any restrictions, adjusting to supply-based conditions. There's minimal price competition because the goods are the same. So meaning non-price factors like branding and advertising have limited consumer choices. So people can buy whether it's fertilizer, maize, or it's original maize, it's just the same. Efficient allocation of resources occurs in this market structure because markets tend to allocate resources efficiently. There's consumer surplus. In this market structure, there's high level of competition, which will lead to lower prices and resulting in increased consumer surplus, which is the difference between what consumers are willing to pay and the market price. What else do we need to know about this market structure? This market structure has a number of characteristics. The exam, you only need about 5 points. I'll just mention as many so that you can remember any. Innovation here, firms often strive efficiency gains and product improvements to maintain their edge. So in the short-term focus, they are given the price as their focus point. So firms will emphasize on short-term profits over the long-term strategies. The lack of market power here, since there's no single firm that has significant market power, it prevents monopolistic behavior in consumers or exploitation of consumers. So there's lack of market power because everyone knows what is prevailing. So the invisible hand is what determines the prices. There's demand, which is elastic here. Like I said, it is faced by a horizontal demand curve, which is characterized by the individual firm. So it is very elastic, meaning that any slight change in the prices will lead to what we call a shift in demand. Will lead to what is called a shift in the demand. Finally, characteristics that we will end with in this market structure are that there's efficient allocation of resources, where resources of production and services are at the best value of the consumers. There's what we call welfare gain. This means that competitive markets can often lead to the highest possible total welfare. Against short run and long run, all firms in the short run might experience some economic profits or losses due to fixed costs, but in the long run, they tend to normalize. Market dynamics in this market structure that factors like consumer preferences, technology, or input can quickly influence the market conditions, prompting an adjustment in supply and demand. So this is where we end. Unless there are any questions.